The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Kensington Palace, casting long shadows across the marble floors. William sat in his private study, surrounded by papers and photographs, his mind heavy with the weight of recent events. Kate had been gone for 3 weeks now, taken to a private medical facility for treatment that the doctors assured him was necessary. But something felt wrong, terribly wrong. He reached for his phone, checking it for the 100th time that day. No messages from Kate. No updates from the medical team beyond the standard reports. His fingers trembled slightly as he set the device down. The silence in the palace felt oppressive, broken only by the distant sounds of staff moving through the halls. Catherine, his beloved Kate, had always been the light in his life. From a moment they met at St. Andrew's University, she had brought warmth and normalcy to his world of protocols and duties. Her smile could ease his darkest moods. Her laugh could make him forget the weight of his future crown. Now, without her presence, the palace felt like a tomb. William stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the manicured gardens below. He remembered how Kate loved to walk there in the early mornings, often barefoot on the grass, ignoring royal protocol with a mischievous grin. She would pick flowers for the children's rooms, creating little bouquets that brought life to the formal spaces of their home. The children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, had been asking for their mother every day. William had run out of explanations that would satisfy their young minds. "Mummy is getting better," he would say, forcing a smile. "She'll be home soon." But even he was beginning to doubt his own words. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called, not turning from the window. It was his private secretary, Edward Whitmore, a man who had served the royal family for decades. His usually composed face showed signs of strain. "Your Royal Highness," he began formally, then paused. "William," he said more gently, "there's something you need to know." William turned, his heart rate quickening. "Is it Kate? Is she—" "She's stable," Edward assured him quickly. "But there have been complications in communication. It seems that several attempts to reach you have been intercepted." "Intercepted?" William's voice was sharp. "By whom?" Edward shifted uncomfortably. "We're still investigating, sir. But it appears that certain messages intended for you never arrived. And some of your messages to the Duchess may not have reached her either." William felt a cold fury building in his chest. "How is that possible? We have secure channels. Direct lines." "Indeed, sir. That's what makes this particularly concerning. It suggests someone with significant access and authority has been involved." William's mind raced. Who would dare interfere with his communication with his wife? Who had both the means and the motive? A terrible suspicion began to form, but he pushed it aside. Surely not. Surely even she wouldn't go that far. "Double the security on all communications," William ordered. "And I want a full investigation. Quietly. We can't afford a scandal, not with Kate's condition being so delicate." Edward nodded and left, leaving William alone with his thoughts once more. He returned to his desk, pulling out a leather-bound journal. Kate had given it to him on their 10th anniversary, encouraging him to write down his thoughts and feelings. "Even future kings need an outlet," she had said with that gentle smile that made his heart skip. He began to write, pouring out his fears and frustrations onto the page. The words flowed like a river breaking through a dam. He wrote about the strange circumstances of Kate's illness, how sudden it had been. One day, she was perfectly healthy, planning charity events and playing with the children. The next, she was pale and weak, barely able to stand. The doctors had been vague about her condition, using medical terms that seemed to obscure more than they revealed. When William pressed for details, they would exchange glances and speak of complications and necessary precautions. It was maddening. His phone buzzed, and he grabbed it eagerly. But it was just a reminder about a state dinner that evening. He had forgotten completely. The thought of putting on a smile and making small talk with dignitaries while Kate lay in a hospital bed somewhere made him feel sick. He called Edward back. "Cancel my appearance tonight. Say I'm indisposed." "Sir, the Queen Consort specifically requested your presence. She said it would look bad if you were absent." "The Queen Consort? Camilla?" William's jaw tightened. His relationship with his stepmother had always been complicated. While he had come to accept her presence in his father's life, he had never fully warmed to her. Kate, with her generous heart, had tried harder, always including Camilla in family gatherings, always showing respect and kindness. "Tell her I'm sorry, but my wife's health takes precedence over appearances," William said coldly. There was a pause. "Very well, sir. I'll convey your regrets." After Edward left again, William found himself pacing the room like a caged animal. Something was nagging at him, a memory just out of reach. Kate had said something strange in the days before she fell ill. What was it? He closed his eyes, trying to remember. They had been in the garden, watching the children play. Kate had seemed troubled, distant. When he asked what was wrong, she had looked at him with those expressive brown eyes and said, "If anything happens to me, William, promise you'll look for the truth. Don't just accept what you're told." At the time, he had laughed it off, assuming she was being overly dramatic about some minor health concern. Now, her words seemed prophetic. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. This time, it was Maria, one of Kate's most trusted ladies-in-waiting. She looked nervous, glancing over her shoulder before entering. "Your Highness," she whispered, "I shouldn't be here, but I had to come. The Duchess, before she left, she gave me something. She made me promise to give it to you if she couldn't do it herself." William's heart raced as Maria pulled out a small envelope from her pocket. His name was written on it in Kate's distinctive handwriting. His hand shook as he took it. "She said to tell you to read it when you're alone," Maria continued, "and to trust no one else with its contents." "What did she give this to you?" William asked, his voice hoarse. "The morning she fell ill, sir. It was as if she knew something was going to happen." After Maria left, William locked the door and sat down with the letter. The envelope felt heavy in his hands, weighted with significance. He carefully opened it, unfolding the pages covered in Kate's neat script. "My dearest William," the letter began, "if you're reading this, then my fears have come to pass. I pray that I'm wrong, that this letter will never need to be read, but recent events have made me fearful for my safety." William's blood ran cold. He continued reading, each word hitting him like a physical blow. "For weeks now, I've noticed strange things. My tea tastes different. I feel drowsy after meals when I shouldn't. There are whispered conversations that stop when I enter a room. And Camilla, oh, William, I hate to write this, but Camilla has been particularly attentive lately, always insisting I eat certain foods, drink certain teas. It may be nothing, just my imagination running wild, but I can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong." William had to stop reading for a moment, his hands shaking with rage and fear. His wife had been afraid, and he hadn't known. She had been in danger, and he hadn't protected her. The letter continued with more details. Kate had noticed patterns, documented conversations, even kept samples of the tea she had been given. She had been conducting her own investigation, all while maintaining her public facade of the perfect princess. "I've hidden evidence in our special place," the letter said. "You know where. If something happens to me, please find it. It may be the only proof of what's really going on." Their special place. William knew immediately where she meant. In the gardens, there was a small gazebo where they would sometimes escape for private moments. Beneath one of the benches, they had created a hiding spot years ago, a silly romantic gesture that now might hold the key to everything. The letter's final paragraphs were the most heartbreaking. Kate poured out her love for him and their children, her hopes for their future, her regrets about things left unsaid. She asked him to be strong, to protect their children, to remember her with joy rather than sorrow. "Whatever happens," she wrote, "know that loving you has been the greatest privilege of my life. You gave me a fairy tale, William. Even if it ends too soon, I regret nothing. Take care of our babies. Help them remember their mother loved them more than all the stars in the sky." William was crying now, tears streaming down his face as he clutched the letter to his chest. His Kate, his brilliant, brave Kate, had been fighting a battle alone, trying to protect them all. And where had he been? Attending meetings, shaking hands, playing the role of the dutiful prince while his wife faced danger. He stood abruptly, filled with a desperate need for action. He had to get to the gazebo, how to find whatever evidence Kate had hidden. But as he moved toward the door, his phone rang. The caller ID showed the medical facility where Kate was being treated. "Your Highness," the voice was professional but tense. "I'm calling about the Duchess. There's been a development." "What kind of development?" William demanded. "She's been asking for you, sir. Repeatedly. But we were told, that is, we were instructed that visits might be too stressful for her condition." "Instructed by whom?" William's voice was dangerous now. There was a pause. "The Queen Consort, sir. She said she was acting on medical advice, and in the family's best interest." William ended the call without another word. The rage that had been building inside him threatened to explode. Camilla had been controlling access to his wife. Camilla had been making decisions about Kate's care without consulting him. And now, with this letter, the implications were too terrible to fully grasp. He needed to be smart about this. If Kate's suspicions were correct, if Camilla was indeed behind her illness, then confronting her directly could be dangerous. He needed proof, needed to find what Kate had hidden, needed to protect his children. First, he called his most trusted security officer, James Morrison, a man who had protected his mother and now served him with equal devotion. "James, I need you to do something for me. Quietly. I want surveillance footage from the palace for the past 2 months. Everything. And I want a team ready to move at a moment's notice." "Of course, sir. May I ask what we're looking for?" "Evidence of a crime," William said grimly. "Against the Duchess." While James worked on that, William made his way to the gardens. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. He moved carefully, aware that there might be eyes watching. The gazebo stood in a secluded corner, surrounded by Kate's favorite roses. He knelt by the bench, feeling underneath for the loose panel they had discovered years ago. His fingers found it, and he carefully removed it. Inside was a small box, wrapped in plastic to protect it from moisture. With trembling hands, he opened it. Inside were several small vials, each carefully labeled with dates. There were also photographs of documents, pages from what looked like Camilla's appointment book, and a small recorder. William pocketed everything, replacing the panel carefully. As he stood to leave, he noticed a figure watching from the palace windows. Even from this distance, he could recognize Camilla's silhouette. She raised a hand as if to wave, but William turned away without acknowledging her. Back in his study, he examined Kate's evidence more carefully. The vials contained tea samples, each marked with dates when Kate had felt particularly ill after drinking them. The photographs showed appointments Camilla had made with various discreet individuals, including one with a man known in certain circles as someone who could procure unusual substances. The recorder was the most damning. William put in earphones and listened to Camilla's voice talking to someone on the phone. "She's becoming too popular," Camilla's voice said. "The people love her more than they'll ever love me. Something must be done. These things take time," another voice replied. "But I assure you, it will look entirely natural. A tragic illness, nothing more." William had to pause the recording, feeling physically sick. His stepmother had plotted against his wife, had poisoned her slowly, methodically. And for what? Jealousy? Power? The crown that would never be fully hers? He thought of his father. Did Charles know? Was he complicit, or was he another victim of Camilla's manipulations? The thought of confronting his father with this evidence was almost unbearable, but it had to be done. First, though, he needed to get to Kate. He called James Morrison. "I need a team ready in 1 hour. We're going to the medical facility." "And James? Come prepared for anything. We may be walking into a hostile situation." "Understood, sir. Should I alert the palace?" "No. Tell no one. As far as anyone knows, I'm retiring early with a headache." William then made another call, this time to Dr. Sarah Ashford, a physician who had treated his mother and whom he trusted implicitly. "Sarah, I need you to meet me at the Harrington Medical Facility. Bring whatever you need to treat potential poisoning. Long-term, systematic poisoning." "William, what's going on?" "I'll explain when I see you. Just please be there. Kate's life may depend on it." As he prepared to leave, William looked once more at Kate's letter. Her words gave him strength. She had been brave enough to investigate, to document, to protect their family even while she was being slowly poisoned. Now, it was his turn to be brave. He thought of their children, asleep in their beds, unaware that their world was about to change dramatically. He thought of his father, who would have to face the truth about the woman he had married. He thought of the monarchy itself, about to be rocked by scandal. But mostly he thought of Kate. His Kate, lying in a hospital bed, kept from him by the woman who had tried to destroy her. The woman who had pretended to be family while plotting murder. William straightened his shoulders and headed for the door. The Prince of Wales was going to war, and heaven help anyone who stood between him and his wife. As he left the palace under cover of darkness, William didn't notice the small figure watching from an upstairs window. Charlotte, his daughter, had been awakened by strange dreams about her mother. She watched her father leave with the serious men in dark suits, and somehow, with a child's intuition, she knew that everything was about to change. In her small hand, she clutched a drawing she had made that day at school. It showed their family together, holding hands under a rainbow. At the bottom, in careful childish letters, she had written, "My family is strong together." The little princess didn't know it yet, but her words would prove prophetic. The House of Windsor was about to face its greatest crisis in decades, and only by standing together would they survive what was to come. As William's car sped through the London night toward Kate, he held her letter close to his heart. Whatever happened next, whatever revelations came to light, he would honor her courage with his own. The truth would out, as his mother had always believed. And Camilla? She stood at her window, watching the cars disappear into the night. A small smile played at her lips as she sipped from a delicate china cup. The game, she thought, was far from over. But even she didn't realize that Kate had been 3 steps ahead, that the letter now in William's possession was just the beginning. For in her final paragraph, Kate had written something that William had memorized. "If you're reading this, my love, then phase 1 is complete. Check our email account, the one we made as a joke on our anniversary. Password is the date we really first said I love you. Everything else you need is there. Be careful who you trust. The rot goes deeper than just one person. I love you. Now, go save our family." William smiled grimly as the car raced on. His brilliant wife had laid a trap, and Camilla had walked right into it. The real battle was just beginning. The Harrington Medical Facility loomed before them in the darkness, its modern glass and steel structure seeming more like a prison than a place of healing. William's convoy pulled up to the private entrance, and he stepped out before the car had fully stopped. James Morrison and his security team flanked him, their faces set with grim determination. Dr. Sarah Ashford was already waiting, her medical bag in hand, and worry etched across her features. "William," she said, falling in a step beside him, "I need to know what we're dealing with here." "Systematic poisoning," William replied tersely. "My wife has been slowly poisoned over weeks, possibly months. I have evidence, but right now, I need you to examine her and start treatment immediately." The facility's night administrator appeared, looking flustered. "Your Royal Highness, we weren't expecting you." The Queen Consort specifically stated that visits should be arranged through her office. "The Queen Consort has no authority over my wife's care," William cut him off. "You will take me to Catherine immediately, or I will have this entire facility shut down by morning." The man paled and quickly led them through sterile corridors. William noticed how empty the facility seemed, how few staff members were visible. It felt wrong, orchestrated, as if Kate had been deliberately isolated. They reached a secured wing, and the administrator fumbled with key cards. "The Duchess is in our most private suite," he explained nervously. "For her protection, of course. Or for her isolation," William muttered under his breath. When they finally entered Kate's room, William's heart nearly stopped. His vibrant, beautiful wife lay pale and still on a hospital bed, connected to various monitors. She had lost weight, her cheekbones sharp beneath translucent skin. But her eyes, those warm brown eyes he loved so much, flickered open at the sound of his voice. "William," her voice was barely a whisper. "Is it really you?" He was at her side in an instant, taking her cold hand in both of his. I'm here, my love. I'm here. I got your letter. Tears slipped down her cheeks. They said you didn't want to see me, that you were too busy with state duties. I knew it was a lie, but I was so weak. Shoo. William soothed. Even his rage burned in his chest. Save your strength. Dr. Ashford is here. She's going to help you. Sarah was already examining Kate, checking vitals, and drawing blood samples. Her expression grew more concerned with each observation. How long has she been experiencing these symptoms? She asked. According to her letter, several weeks of gradual onset, William replied. But the acute phase began 3 weeks ago. Kate squeezed his hand weakly. The tea, she whispered, every morning and evening. They insisted I drink it. Said it would help with my migraines. Sarah's eyes sharpened. Do they still have any of this tea? The administrator, who had been hovering nervously by the door, cleared his throat. The Queen Consort provides special herbal blends for the Duchess. She says it's a family recipe, very beneficial for health. Bring me every bit of it, Sarah ordered. Now. As the man scurried away, William pulled out the vials Kate had hidden. She saved samples, he told Sarah, dated and labeled. Sarah took them gratefully. Brilliant woman. These will help me identify the toxin and develop a treatment plan. She turned to her medical bag, pulling out various supplies. I'm going to start chelation therapy immediately, along with supportive care. But, William, I need to be honest. Depending on what was used, there could be lasting damage. Just save her, William said, his voice breaking. Please. Kate's eyes had closed again, but her breathing seemed steadier. William stayed by her side as Sarah worked, administering IVs and medications with practiced efficiency. James Morrison positioned his men around the room, creating a protective perimeter. Sir, James said quietly, I've had the building secured. No one in or out without your direct permission. And I've taken the liberty of having our tech team set up encrypted communications. Your conversations will be private now. William nodded gratefully. Any word from the palace? It seems the Queen Consort has realized you've left. She's been making inquiries, but your staff is maintaining that you retired early with a headache. Good. Let her wonder. William turned back to Kate, stroking her hair gently. What about the surveillance footage I requested? Being compiled as we speak. Should have something within the hour. The administrator returned with an ornate wooden box. This is the tea supply, Your Highness. The Queen Consort has it specially imported. She's very particular about its preparation. Sarah took the box, sniffing the contents carefully before sealing samples in evidence bags. I'll need to run toxicology tests, but preliminary assessment suggests several concerning compounds. This isn't just herbal tea. William's phone buzzed. It was his father. He declined the call, not ready for that confrontation yet. But it rang again immediately, and this time, William saw it was from the children's nanny. Your Highness. The nanny's voice was distressed. Prince George is asking for you. He says he had a bad dream about his mother. He's quite upset. William's heart ached. Tell him I'll call him in a moment. Keep all 3 children in the nursery together. And Mary? Don't let anyone else near them. No one. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Of course. William stepped into the hallway to video call his son. George's tear-stained face appeared on the screen, with Charlotte and Louis visible in the background. Papa, where's Mummy? I dreamed she was calling for help. Mummy is getting better, William said, fighting to keep his voice steady. I'm with her right now. She sends her love. Granny Camilla said we couldn't visit because we might make her sicker, Charlotte piped up. But that doesn't make sense. Love doesn't make people sick. Out of the mouths of babes, William thought bitterly. You're absolutely right, Charlotte. As soon as Mummy is stronger, you can all visit. I promise. After reassuring the children and getting them settled back to bed, William returned to find Sarah in intense discussion with one of her colleagues she had called in. It's a sophisticated cocktail, she was saying. Multiple toxins designed to mimic autoimmune symptoms. Brilliant in its cruelty. Each component alone would be hard to detect, but together they're slowly shutting down her major organs. Can you reverse it? William asked. I believe so, but it will take time. And we need to ensure no more poison is introduced. She'll need round-the-clock monitoring by staff I personally vet. Done. Whatever you need. Kate stirred again, more alert this time. William, she said, her voice stronger. There's more. In the email. You have to check the email. He pulled out his phone, accessing the secret email account they had created years ago as a private joke. The password came to him instantly. Not their official anniversary, but the date they had really first said, I love you, standing in the rain after university party, both slightly drunk and completely besotted. The inbox contained dozens of emails Kate had sent to the account over the past months. Documentation of overheard conversations, photographs of documents she'd managed to glimpse, even audio recordings she'd made with her phone hidden in her pocket. One email contained a bombshell, a photograph of a letter in Camilla's handwriting to someone named Marcus Sterling. William recognized the name. Sterling was known in certain circles as a problem solver for the wealthy, someone who could make inconvenient people disappear in ways that appeared natural. The letter discussed the Kate problem and mentioned a sum of money that made William's blood boil. His wife's life had been valued and traded like a commodity. Another email contained Kate's meticulous notes about palace staff changes. Camilla had slowly been replacing longtime employees with her own people, particularly in positions that involved food service and security. The woman had been building a network within William's own home. My God, William breathed. She documented everything. I learned from Diana, Kate said softly. Both William and Sarah turned to look at her. Your mother kept records too, William. She knew the importance of evidence. Camilla might have thought I was just a pretty face, but I've been studying, watching, learning. William kissed her forehead tenderly. You brilliant, brave woman. There's a safety deposit box, Kate continued, her strength seeming to grow as she finally could share her burden. At the bank where we opened our first joint account. Box 471. Everything is duplicated there, plus some original documents I managed to acquire. The key is hidden in Charlotte's music box, taped under the ballerina. James Morrison, who had been coordinating with his team, approached with a tablet. Sir, we have the surveillance footage. You need to see this. The footage showed Camilla entering Kate's private sitting room early in the morning, before Kate typically woke. She carried a tea service and spent several minutes alone in the room. The timestamp showed this happened repeatedly, almost daily, in the weeks before Kate fell ill. Another video showed Camilla meeting with the administrator of the medical facility, handing him an envelope. Their body language suggested conspiracy, secrets being traded. We have her, James said grimly. This is enough for a criminal investigation. But William knew it was more complicated than that. This wasn't just about criminal justice. This was about the monarchy, about his father, about the future of the institution his grandmother had devoted her life to protecting. His phone rang again. This time, it was Edward Whitmore, his private secretary. Sir, I apologize for the late hour, but we have a situation. The Queen Consort is insisting on visiting the Duchess first thing in the morning. She says she's bringing a new specialist and treatment plan. Absolutely not, William said firmly. In fact, Edward, I want you to draw up papers immediately. As of this moment, I am assuming full medical power of attorney for my wife. All decisions go through me. Of course, sir. And, if I may, there are several senior courtiers who have been uncomfortable with recent developments. They would support whatever actions you deem necessary. William felt a glimmer of hope. He wasn't alone in this fight. Thank you, Edward. Have him ready. We move at dawn. As the night wore on, Sarah's treatment began to show effects. Kate's color improved slightly, and her breathing became easier. She managed to share more details about what she had observed and documented. The staff changes weren't random, she explained. Each person Camilla brought in had a specific role. The morning tea server, the woman who cleaned my private rooms, even a new lady-in-waiting she insisted I accept. They all reported directly to her. We'll investigate every single one, James promised. Around 3 in the morning, William's secure phone rang. It was his brother Harry, calling from California. William hesitated, then answered. Despite their recent tensions, Harry deserved to know what was happening. Wills, I've been trying to reach you. Megan said she felt something was wrong. Some sort of intuition. William found himself pouring out the whole story to his brother. There was silence on the other end when he finished. "Bloody hell," Harry finally said. "What do you need from me?" The simple offer of support nearly broke William's composure. "Just be ready. When this comes out, the press will go mad. The family will need all the support we can get. We'll fly out tomorrow. Today, I mean. And Wills? I'm sorry I wasn't there. I should have seen something was wrong. None of us saw it, Harry. Kate hid it too well, trying to protect everyone else." After the call, William found himself thinking about his mother. Diana had faced her own battles within the palace walls, had known what it was like to be targeted by those who saw her as a threat. But she hadn't had the evidence Kate had gathered, hadn't had the technological tools to document the conspiracy against her. Kate stirred again, reaching for his hand. "I was so scared," she admitted. "Not of dying, but of leaving you and the children unprotected. She wants George, William. She made comments about properly preparing the future king, and how I was too soft with him." William's protective instincts flared even hotter. The idea of Camilla having any increased influence over his children made his skin crawl. Dr. Ashford approached with an update. "The blood tests confirm multiple toxins, but they're all treatable. With aggressive therapy, I expect a full recovery. However, I strongly recommend moving her to a secure facility where we can control every aspect of her care." "The London clinic?" William suggested. "I was thinking somewhere more discreet. I have connections at a private facility in Scotland. Completely off the grid, medically speaking. No one would know she was there except those you personally authorize." William considered this. Hiding Kate away felt like retreat, but ensuring her safety had to be the priority. "Arrange it. We move her tomorrow night, under cover of darkness." As dawn approached, the weight of what lay ahead settled on William's shoulders. He had evidence of attempted murder, conspiracy, and betrayal at the highest levels of the royal family. Using it would create a scandal that would rock the monarchy to its foundations. But not using it would leave Kate vulnerable and allow Camilla to continue her machinations unchecked. His children would remain at risk, and the woman who had tried to kill his wife would continue to play the role of loving step-grandmother. "What are you thinking?" Kate asked, studying his face with those perceptive eyes. "I'm thinking about duty," William replied honestly. "Grandmother always said duty came first. But duty to whom? To the institution? To the family? Or to the truth?" "Your mother chose truth," Kate reminded him gently. "And while it was painful, it ultimately made the monarchy stronger. More honest, more human." William nodded slowly. His path was becoming clearer. He would not let Kate suffer in silence, as his mother had. He would not allow his children to grow up in a palace where attempted murder could be covered up for the sake of appearances. His phone buzzed with a message from James Morrison. The morning papers would be hitting the stands soon, and Camilla had apparently planted a story about Kate suffering from a nervous breakdown, suggesting that the pressures of royal life had become too much for her. William showed Kate the message, and, despite everything, she actually laughed. A nervous breakdown? How very Victorian of her. I suppose poisoning sounded too medieval. Her humor in the face of such betrayal made William love her even more. "How do you want to handle this?" he asked her. "This is your story to tell." Kate was quiet for a moment, then spoke with firm resolve. "I want the truth out there. All of it. But strategically, we need to protect the children and give her father a chance to respond appropriately. If we do this wrong, Camilla could spin it as the delusions of a sick woman. Then, we need allies," William said. "People whose word cannot be questioned." He thought of his aunt and his father's sister, who had never warmed to Camilla. His cousins who had expressed private concerns about Camilla's growing influence. The senior courtiers Edward had mentioned. Even his grandmother's former private secretary, who had retired but still commanded immense respect. "Build a coalition," Kate advised. "Present the evidence to them first. Let them see what we're dealing with. Then, approach your father with witnesses he can't dismiss." William marveled at her strategic thinking, even in her weakened state. This was why Camilla had seen her as a threat. Not just because she was loved by the people, but because she was intelligent, perceptive, and strong. As the sun rose over London, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, William made his decision. He would fight for his wife, for his children, for the truth. The coming days would be difficult, perhaps the most challenging the royal family had faced in decades. But as he looked at Kate, already stronger than she had been hours before, he knew they would prevail. Love, truth, and courage would triumph over jealousy, deception, and cruelty. "I need to return to the palace," he told her reluctantly. "There are preparations to make, people to contact, but I'm leaving the best security with you, and Dr. Ashford will stay until we can move you tonight." Kate pulled him down for a kiss. "Be careful, my love. Cornered animals are dangerous, and we're about to corner a very clever snake." "She should have known better than to come between us," William said fiercely. "We've weathered every storm together. This one will be no different." As he prepared to leave, Kate called him back one more time. "William, check on the children yourself this morning. And look at Charlotte's drawing from yesterday. She left it on your desk. Sometimes children see truths adults miss." William promised he would, though he wondered what their young daughter could have possibly observed. But then, again, Kate had proven that the most powerful weapons against deception were often the most unexpected ones. The drive back to the palace felt like preparing for battle. William used the time to make secure calls, beginning to rally his allies. Each person he spoke to reacted with shock, then anger, then determination. The conspiracy Camilla had woven was about to unravel, thread by thread. As the palace gates came into view, William straightened his shoulders. He was no longer just a grieving husband or a worried father. He was the future king, protecting his family and his realm from a threat within. Camilla had made a fatal error. She had underestimated Kate, seeing only the pretty smile and gentle demeanor. She had failed to recognize the steel beneath the silk, the brilliant mind behind the kind eyes. But, most of all, she had underestimated the power of love. William and Kate's bond, forged through years of public scrutiny and private joys, had proved stronger than any poison. The battle for the truth was about to begin, and William intended to win. For Kate, for their children, for the future of the monarchy itself. As his car pulled up to the palace entrance, William saw Camilla watching from a window. He met her gaze steadily, letting her see the knowledge in his eyes. Her expression shifted from confident to uncertain. Good, he thought. Let her wonder. Let her worry. The hunter was about to become the hunted. The chess match between the future king and his stepmother had begun, and William held evidence that would checkmate her completely. But first, he had to position his pieces carefully. The next few hours would determine everything. Taking a deep breath, William entered the palace, ready to fight for his family with every weapon at his disposal. Kate had lit the fuse with her careful documentation. Now, it was his turn to ensure the explosion destroyed the right target. The morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows through the palace corridors. Somewhere in those shadows, truth waited to step into the light. And when it did, the House of Windsor would never be the same. William entered Kensington Palace with the controlled calm of a man preparing for war. The morning staff greeted him with nervous bows and curtsies, clearly aware that something significant was happening. He went straight to his private study, where Edward Whitmore was already waiting with a stack of legal documents. "The medical power of attorney is ready for your signature," Edward said without preamble. "I've also taken the liberty of preparing several other documents you might need: restraining orders, cease and desist letters, and formal requests for investigation." William's sign were necessary, his jaw tight with determination. "Has my father tried to reach you?" "Several times, sir. The Queen Consort has apparently raised the alarm about your absence last night. His Majesty seems concerned." "He should be," William muttered. Then, louder, set up a meeting with Princess Anne for this afternoon. Discreet location. Also contact Lord Stevens. He investigated my mother's death. I want his advice on handling evidence in a case this sensitive." "Very good, sir." "And the children?" "I'm going to see them now. Double their security detail, but keep it subtle. I don't want them frightened." William made his way to the nursery wing, where he found all three children having breakfast. Their faces lit up when they saw him. "Papa." Lewis launched himself at William's legs. Is Mummy coming home today? Soon, little man. Very soon. William hugged each of them tightly, studying their faces. They seemed well, though George looked troubled. Granny Camilla came by yesterday evening, Charlotte said, making a face. She brought us treats, but they tasted funny. We gave them to the dogs when she wasn't looking. William's blood ran cold. You did the right thing, Charlotte. What happened to the dogs? They got sick, George said quietly. The vet had to come. He said they ate something bad. William fought to keep his expression neutral, but inside he was raging. Camilla had tried to harm his children. Whatever restraint he had been maintaining for the sake of family harmony evaporated in that instant. Listen to me, all three of you, he said, kneeling to their level. For the next few days, I need you to be very careful. Don't eat or drink anything unless it comes from Mary or directly from me. Can you do that? Is someone trying to hurt us? George asked, wise beyond his years. I won't let anyone hurt you, William promised. But we need to be smart and careful. Like a game, after ensuring the children's safety and speaking privately with their protection officers, William returned to his study. On his desk, as Kate had mentioned, was Charlotte's drawing. At first glance, it seemed like a typical family portrait, stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. But looking closer, William noticed details that made his heart ache. Charlotte had drawn Kate lying down, separated from the rest of the family. A dark figure stood between Kate and the others with what looked like a crown but drawn in black crayon. The figure's hands held something that looked like a cup, extended toward Kate. Children did indeed see truths adults missed. Charlotte had been observing, understanding on some level that Camilla was keeping her mother away, that there was something wrong with what was being given to Kate. William carefully folded the drawing and placed it with the other evidence. Even his 7-year-old daughter had seen through Camilla's facade. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was James Morrison with the full surveillance report. Sir, we found more than we initially thought, James said, spreading out printed screenshots on the desk. The Queen Consort didn't just visit the Duchess's rooms. She also accessed your private office on multiple occasions when you were away. Always with the same man, Marcus Sterling. The photographs clearly showed Camilla and Sterling entering William's office, staying for extended periods. What could they have been looking for? William wondered aloud. Based on the dates and times, sir, I believe they were monitoring your correspondence with the Duchess. Several of your private letters to her went missing during this period, didn't they? William nodded slowly. He had written to Kate several times during her early illness, pouring out his heart, sharing his fears and love. Those letters had never reached her, he now realized. Camilla had been intercepting them, isolating Kate, not just physically, but emotionally. There's more, James continued. We've identified the network of staff the Queen Consort brought in. Several have criminal records that were somehow overlooked in their background checks. One was previously investigated for poisoning an employer, though charges were never filed due to lack of evidence. Good God, William breathed. She built a criminal network within the palace itself. It appears so, sir. With your permission, I'd like to have them all detained for questioning. Do it. Quietly for now. We need them unable to coordinate stories or destroy evidence. As James left to coordinate the operation, William's phone rang. It was Princess and William. His aunt's no-nonsense voice came through clearly. I understand you need to speak with me urgently. I can meet you at Gatcombe Park this afternoon. I assume this is about your stepmother's recent activities? You know, William was surprised. I've had my suspicions for months, nephew. That woman has been far too interested in controlling access to Catherine, and certain financial irregularities have come to my attention. We'll discuss everything when you arrive. The call gave William hope, and was formidable, honest, direct, and utterly loyal to the Crown's best interests rather than to personalities. If she already had suspicions, she would be a powerful ally. William spent the next hour reaching out to other key figures. His cousin Peter Phillips, who had always been suspicious of Camilla. His mother's friend Julius Samuel, who had maintained close ties with the family and had noticed troubling patterns. Even some of the senior clergy who had observed Camilla's behavior at official functions and felt uneasy about her increasing influence. Each conversation revealed more pieces of the puzzle. Camilla hadn't just targeted Kate. She had been systematically working to isolate and control various family members, building a power base that would be unassailable once Charles was gone, and she was the king's widow. A commotion outside his study door caught William's attention. He could hear raised voices, one of them unmistakably Camilla's. "I demand to see my stepson immediately. This is ridiculous. I am the queen consort." "I'm sorry, ma'am," came the firm voice of William's protection officer. "The Prince of Wales is not to be disturbed." The door burst open despite the officer's efforts, and Camilla swept in, her face a mask of indignation that didn't quite hide the fear in her eyes. "William, what is the meaning of this? I tried to visit dear Catherine this morning, and they wouldn't let me in. Some nonsense about new medical protocols." William stood slowly, using his height to his advantage. "Sit down, Camilla. I beg your pardon." "I said sit down. We need to discuss your visits to my wife." Something in his tone must have penetrated her bluster, because she sank into a chair, though she tried to maintain her imperious air. "I don't know what you've been told, but I've only ever had Catherine's best interests at heart." "Really?" William opened a folder on his desk. "Then, perhaps you can explain why you were adding substances to her tea every morning. Substances that, according to Dr. Ashford's analysis, include several known toxins." The color drained from Camilla's face. That's preposterous. I gave her herbal remedies. For her migraines. Traditional remedies passed down through my family. Your family recipe includes mercury, arsenic compounds, digitalis in doses that would slowly stop her heart. William's voice was deadly quiet. "We have the tea analyzed, Camilla. We have video footage of you dosing it. We have your correspondence with Marcus Sterling discussing the Kate problem." Camilla's hands trembled slightly, but she rallied. "You're misinterpreting everything. I was concerned about Catherine's influence on you, yes, but only because she was keeping you from your duties. Sterling is a consultant who helps with difficult family situations. By poisoning them, I never—" "We have recordings," William interrupted. "Kate recorded you. Would you like me to play them?" For the first time, real fear flickered across Camilla's features. "Catherine recorded private conversations? How dare she? The violation of privacy. The woman fighting for her life against a poisoner is the villain here." William laughed bitterly. "You really are extraordinary, Camilla. Even now, you can't admit what you've done." "I've done nothing but try to protect this family," Camilla insisted, her voice rising. "That woman had you wrapped around her finger. The people's princess, they called her. Just like Diana. And look how that ended." The mention of his mother was a mistake. William's control, already frayed, snapped entirely. "Get out," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Get out of my sight before I forget that I'm supposed to be a gentleman. You can't speak to me this way. I'm your father's wife." "You are a would-be murderess," William stated flatly. "And if you come near my wife or children again, I will have you arrested. The evidence is already in the hands of the appropriate authorities. The only reason you're not in custody right now is because I'm trying to minimize the damage to the monarchy." Camilla stood, shaking with rage or fear or both. "Your father will hear about this. I'm counting on it. In fact, I'm meeting with him in an hour to present everything. I suggest you use that time to consider your options. A quiet divorce and exile might be preferable to a public trial for attempted murder." She swept out without another word, but William could see the calculations behind her eyes. She wasn't defeated yet. Cornered, yes, but still dangerous. Sure enough, within minutes, his phone rang. His father. "William, I need to see you immediately. Camilla is here in tears, making wild accusations." "What in heaven's name is going on?" "I'll be there shortly, father. And I suggest you ask Camilla to wait elsewhere. What I have to show you should be seen in private first." There was a pause. "This is about Catherine?" "Yes." "Very well. Come to my study. And, William, I hope you know what you're doing." So did William. He gathered the evidence, photographs, documents, recordings, test results. Everything meticulously organized into a presentation that would be impossible to deny or misinterpret. He also brought Charlotte's drawing, a child's innocent observation that somehow made the betrayal even more stark. The walk to his father's section of the palace felt like the longest journey of his life. Staff members watched him pass with knowing looks. The palace gossip network was clearly in overdrive. Charles was alone in his study when William entered, looking older than his years. The burden of kingship, combined with whatever Camilla had told him, had clearly taken its toll. "Father," William said formally, setting his materials on the desk. "So," Charles gestured to a chair. "Camilla says you've accused her of trying to harm Catherine. She's quite distraught. Says you've been taken in by Catherine's paranoid delusions brought on by her illness. Kate isn't paranoid, and her illness isn't natural," William said steadily. "She's been systematically poisoned over a period of weeks. I have proof." He began laying out the evidence methodically. The test results showing toxins in Kate's blood. The analysis of the herbal tea Camilla had been providing. The surveillance footage. The financial records showing payments to Marcus Sterling. The recordings Kate had made. Charles's face grew paler with each revelation. When William played a particularly damning recording of Camilla discussing how to handle the Kate situation permanently, the king had to sit down heavily. "This can't be," he whispered. "There must be some explanation. Camilla wouldn't, she couldn't." "She did," William said firmly, but not unkindly. "I'm sorry, Father. I know this is difficult to accept, but Kate nearly died. If she hadn't been as clever and careful as she was, if she hadn't documented everything, we might have lost her and never known the truth." Charles stared at the evidence spread before him, looking lost. But why? Catherine never did anything to her. She was always respectful, always kind. That was the problem, William explained. Kate was loved. By the people, by the family, by you. Every comparison between them favored Kate. And as Camilla saw it, Kate stood between her and complete control of the monarchy once she became the king's widow. Good God. Charles buried his face in his hands. What have I done? I brought her into this family. I gave her power, position. You fell in love, William said gently. That's not a crime. But what she's done with that position is. What do you want me to do? Charles asked, looking older and more vulnerable than William had ever seen him. The right thing, William replied. We need to protect the monarchy from scandal while ensuring justice is served. I suggest a quiet annulment, citing irreconcilable differences. Camilla retreats from public life permanently. In exchange, we don't pursue criminal charges publicly. And if she refuses, then we go public with everything. The evidence is overwhelming. Father, the police are already aware. This offer of discretion is a courtesy to you and to the institution, not to her. Charles nodded slowly. You're right, of course. The monarchy must come first. He looked up at his son with something like pride. You'll make a good king, William. Better than I have been. You've been a good king, Father. You just trusted the wrong person. We've all done that at some point. Your mother never trusted her, Charles said quietly. Diana saw through her from the beginning. I should have listened. Mother saw things others missed, William agreed. Kate has that same gift. Perhaps that's why Camilla feared her so much. Charles stood, suddenly looking more resolved. I'll handle Camilla. You focus on Catherine's recovery. And, William, give her my apologies. She deserved better from all of us. William left his father's study, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. The confrontation had gone better than expected, but the pain in his father's eyes was hard to witness. Another casualty of Camilla's ambition. His phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Ashford. Kate's condition was improving rapidly with treatment. She was asking for him. William's heart lifted. He instructed Edward to coordinate with Princess and for the afternoon meeting, then headed back to the medical facility. He needed to see his wife, to reassure himself that she was truly recovering. The facility was even more heavily guarded than when he'd left. James Morrison met him at the entrance. We've detained 6 members of palace staff for questioning, he reported. 3 have already admitted to being paid by the Queen Consort to spy on the Duchess. 1 has offered to testify in exchange for immunity. Granted, William said immediately, we need witnesses willing to speak publicly if necessary. He found Kate sitting up in bed, looking markedly better. Color had returned to her cheeks, and her eyes were bright and alert. Sarah Ashford smiled at his obvious relief. She's responding remarkably well to treatment, the doctor reported. Another 48 hours, and she should be strong enough to travel to the secure facility. William took Kate's hand, marveling at its warmth after the cold clamminess of the night before. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've been poisoned and lived to tell the tale," Kate said with a weak smile. "How did it go with Charles?" William filled her in on the morning's events. Kate listened intently, occasionally asking questions. When he mentioned Charlotte's drawing, tears filled her eyes. Our brave girl. She knew something was wrong. They all did in their way. The children have good instincts. They get that from you, Kate said. I just taught them to trust those instincts. A knock interrupted them. One of the security team entered with an urgent expression. Sir, you need to know. The Queen Consort has left the palace. Our surveillance shows her heading to the airport with several suitcases. William and Kate exchanged glances. She's running, Kate said. Let her go, William decided. If she leaves the country, it solves several problems. We can deal with the legal aspects later. But Kate shook her head. She'll spin this, William. Make herself the victim. We need to control the narrative before she can. She was right, of course. William called Edward Whitmore. Prepare a press release. Nothing detailed, just that the Queen Consort has decided to step back from public duties for personal reasons. Make it clear this is permanent. And if she contradicts that, then we release everything, William said firmly. Make sure she knows that. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and strategic planning. Princess proved to be a formidable ally, having already gathered a coalition of family members and senior courtiers who supported William's actions. That woman never fooled me, and said bluntly, I've been documenting her irregularities for years. Your evidence just confirms what many of us suspected. By evening, the palace machinery was in motion. Camilla's belongings were being packed, her staff reassigned, her access to royal properties revoked. Charles, seemingly aged by the day's revelations, signed whatever documents were put before him. Lord Stevens, the former police commissioner who had investigated Diana's death, reviewed the evidence and confirmed it would stand up in court if necessary. You've got her dead to rights, he told William. The poisoning alone would get her 20 years. The fact that she targeted the future queen? That's treason in some interpretations. As night fell, William returned once more to Kate's bedside. The immediate crisis had passed, but both knew the aftermath would be challenging. The press would eventually get wind of something. The family would need to heal from the betrayal, and Kate would need time to fully recover. I'm proud of you, Kate said, touching his face gently. You handled everything perfectly. Your mother would be proud, too. I just followed your lead, William replied. You're the one who had the courage to investigate, to document, to protect our family even while you were being poisoned. We make a good team, Kate said with a tired smile. The best, William agreed, kissing her forehead. Outside, the palace lights glowed against the London sky. Somewhere, Camilla was fleeing the consequences of her actions. The monarchy would survive this crisis, as it had survived so many others. But the attack on Kate had changed things fundamentally. William thought of his children, safe in their beds, of his father, coming to terms with betrayal, of the institution he would one day lead, which had nearly been corrupted from within. But mostly he thought of Kate, brave, brilliant Kate, who had faced death with courage and intelligence. She had saved not just herself, but potentially the entire family from Camilla's machinations. As he held his wife's hand in the quiet hospital room, William made a vow. Never again would anyone threaten his family. Never again would palace politics endanger those he loved. When he became king, things would be different. The House of Windsor would emerge from this crisis stronger, more united, and more vigilant. The attempt to destroy Kate had instead destroyed the attacker. Truth, love, and courage had won the day. But the full reckoning was yet to come. The letter Kate had hidden was just the beginning. There were more revelations waiting in that safety deposit box, more truths that would reshape the royal family's understanding of recent history. For now, though, William was content to sit with his recovering wife, planning their future and the changes they would make. The storm had broken, but they had weathered it together. And, in a palace not far away, 3 young royals slept peacefully, protected by parents who would move heaven and earth to keep them safe. The attempted poisoning of their mother would become part of royal history, a cautionary tale about power, jealousy, and the price of ambition. But it would also be remembered as a love story of a prince who fought for his princess, and a princess clever enough to save herself and her family from a real-life wicked stepmother.